The Rescuers was released in 1977 and was the 23rd Disney animated feature film and was co-directed by Wolfgang Reitherman, John Lounsbury, and Art Stevens, and uses the voice talents of Bob Newhart and Ava Gabor as the mice Bernard and Miss Bianca. The film is based on the children's novel of the same name and follows two mice of the Rescue Aid Society who are searching for a little girl kidnapped by two villainous treasure hunters. I am excited to finally talk about The Rescuers here because, as you might suspect, this is another film that I grew up watching as a kid, and I absolutely loved this movie, and upon several rewatches, I have enjoyed it just as much. But on this one in particular, I really loved what I saw, and after watching it this time, it really is one of the darkest Disney films I think I have ever seen, period, bar none, and it does it in such a mature way. This is a very mature Disney film, especially at this point in time. There had just never been something that tackled this type of subject matter. We are dealing with themes of kidnapping, child endangerment in particular, especially with the character of Penny, who is kidnapped by Snoops and Medusa, who are trying to get her specifically to go down into this cave to try to collect this giant diamond. And it's kind of horrifying at times. It's dark, and it does it with such maturity that it really feels so different from anything that Disney has done before this, and in some ways even since. The moment that you start this movie, you're in for something a little bit different. There is a cold opening, which is unlike anything that I've seen in a Disney film at this point that I have reviewed, where you see the character of Penny all in shadow. She's in this dark kind of boathouse, and she takes this bottle. It's her one singular hope, hoping that maybe somebody out there will find it and help her in some way. And we follow that through a incredibly well done opening credit sequence that might personally be the best one that they have done so far with the Disney films at this point. It really tells you a story through some beautiful imagery that is like looking at truly amazing art pieces. You see this bottle trek through the ocean, coming in contact with ships and being whisked away here and there before finally making it in New York City. And it's an incredible, well done journey that really sets up the story really well. And speaking of setting up the story really well, you get introduced to your main cast in lovable fashion that really plays into who these characters are. Bernard the mouse really has a fear. There are constant references to him hating the number 13 in particular. It is an unlucky number, and there are many jokes throughout, such as him climbing up some steps that are numbered 13, or in the finale of the film, right at the very end, they are leaving on Friday the 13th. You just get a sense of his personality, his bumblingness, but also his courageousness. And that is matched well with Miss Bianca, played amazingly by Ava Gabor, who really steals the show. And their relationship in particular is so central to this story and making it work in the way that it does. They are just incredibly lovable characters, and watching them play off of each other in just the voice performances is wonderful. They have such great chemistry, and they are really likable. But the moment for me that really cemented this as a really great film is when they are doing their investigation, they come across the cat Rufus, who is at the orphanage that Penny lived at. And he tells a really emotional story that shows how Penny is stuck at this orphanage and she's not being selected. She's not getting a family. And the way that it is done with just very limited dialogue, and the dialogue that is there is very emotional and impactful, and the character of Rufus truly cares for the character of Penny and wants to see her happy, and in a moment of vulnerability he is able to break through and show her a little bit of happiness. And that's all she needs, because her life at this point is just, it's very sad. And it's things like this that cause her to eventually run away and get kidnapped by Medusa and Snoops for their own gains. And it's very dark, and it's very mature, but I think it's handled incredibly well. That is the best scene, in my opinion. And then we continue on with such fun scenes as them trying to fly to the bayou, and then meeting all of these colorful, fun characters once we get to the bayou and the main thrust of the story moves forward. And this is where the story can lose me a little bit. After a while, it is a lot of meandering around. The story is still front and center and central to everything, but we do at least get some great character moments with Penny and her relationship with Bernard and Bianca. And that is really fun. And then it reaches this huge climax that is inside the cave where this diamond is. And we see all the horrible child endangerment that goes on here, with Penny trying to get this diamond in a very terrifying scene where, you know, in just one gust, she could be swept away into the earth, never to be seen again. And that's absolutely terrifying. I remember this scene as a kid really making me tense and fearful for the character of Penny. But ultimately, things end up very well. The villains are defeated and good triumphs over evil, and Penny finally gets that happy ending that we need after all of the darkness that we went through this film. And it's all because of two mice, and they are lovable, but they do kind of fall to the wayside in the film's climax in particular, that focuses more on the side characters that are fun but not really central to the overall story. And it just becomes this big climactic kind of overtaking of the bayou critters taking over Medusa, and that in itself is really fun. But it does kind of dampen some of the impact and focusing not on the best characters in this story, but still well done nonetheless. And something that is also well done is not necessarily the animation, but the backgrounds in particular. These are some of the most beautiful backgrounds that I have seen for a Disney film. I already spoke about how the intro is beautiful and haunting, and you get that same feeling. Everything is so picturesque and feels like just this rough oil painting kind of style. And it really sets the darker mood for this story that is incredible to watch. And it's really fitting for the type of film that it is. And that's why I love this so much. It's why this, over a lot of other Disney films, resonates with me. It is a mature story. It tells a very dark and depressing story with a world that is very unforgiving. It touches on things such as child endangerment and kidnapping and the evil that people do to, reach their own means. And it's haunting. And it's crazy that the company decided to make something like this, because people talk about movies such as The Black Cauldron and Hunchback of Notre Dame as being these incredibly dark Disney films. But I don't feel like anybody really talks about the darkness that is in this film. And it's so well handled, I think, and makes for an incredible experience that I have never forgotten. And as I continue to watch this film, I will absolutely never forget it. This is an incredible film, I think, and deserving of more love than it gets, because this movie is liked, but I think that the sequel through the years has gotten more love as, time has grown on it and stuff. But I think that this, for the most part, for right now, until I finally get to Rescuers Down Under, I think that this is genuinely the best one. So anyway, guys, with all of that said, I'm going to give The Rescuers an 8 out of 10. This is almost a perfect film, in my opinion. I think the first half, in particular, does not skip a beat. I think it's thrilling, it's dark, it's mature, but that doesn't mean anything unless you have great characters, and I think you have two of the best leads here. I love The Rescuers. It was one of my favorite animated films as a kid. It's definitely up there in my Disney ranking, but it does have a few things that hold it back in that second half, particularly losing sight of the main characters and focusing on some of the underdeveloped side characters. But other than that, this is a fantastic film that is definitely worth anyone's time. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and stay positive.